Good morning, students. Today, our topic is moral science for class 6, the first chapter, believe in God. So, at first, my question is to you, to all of you, do you believe in God? Do you have faith in God? We can have two kinds of people. Either they believe in God or don't believe in God. So, those who believe in God, those who don't believe in God, I will not hurt anybody's feelings. It's an individual affair. We are free to think what we do or what we will not do. But here is a story where we will share about what can happen if you have believed in God. So our story begins with Dhruv's devotion. In ancient India, there lived a king whose name was Uttanapada. His queen Suniti gave birth to a son who was the joy and pride of his heart. But their happy days did not last for long. After some time, the king grew tired of his wife and fell madly in love with a beautiful maid named Suruchi, whom he married. But Suruchi was a jealous woman who hated Queen Suniti and the little prince Dhruv. She poisoned the ears of the king against them. When her own son was born, Suruchi's hatred for Dhruv increased 100-fold. She could not bear that Dhruv should become the king after his father's death, and that her own son would have to bow down before him. She made the life of the king miserable by telling all sorts of wicked lies. At last, the king consented to send Suniti and the little prince far into the forest. The queen and her son Dhruv lived in a humble cottage. It was situated in the mid of the forest, where at nightfall the sound of roaring wild beasts could be heard. So the years passed till at last, when Dhruv was about 7 years old, he asked about his father. "Could I not go to see him, dear mother?" he said one day. "Yes, my child," said the poor queen, "you shall go, little one, tomorrow." The next day, Dhruv set out to meet his father along with a guard. The road was beautiful that led to his father's palace. The child walked for some time, and later he was carried by the guards. At last they arrived at the royal gate, and Dhruv went in, past the guard, and entered the palace himself. Then he walked till he came to the king's throne, and there at last he saw the king, and ran straight to his father's arms. The king was overcome with joy. Not a single day had passed when the king did not miss his wife Suniti and his son Dhruv. The little child Dhruv sat in his father's lap, full of love. At this very moment, Dhruv's stepmother entered the hall. Finding Dhruv sitting in the king's lap, her anger knew no bounds. She rebuked the king so much and spoke bitter words about the child on his lap that he harshly put him down. Finding his father so weak, Dhruv's heart was broken. Silently and unnoticed, he touched his father's feet and kissed the steps of the throne before him. Then he walked out of the palace along with his guard. Dhruv's mother was happy to see him back. She brought him food to eat and water to drink. But she noticed that Dhruv was sad. Suniti knew that his happiness was gone. After finishing the meal, Dhruv told his mother what had happened. They both sat silently for a while. Then Dhruv asked, "Mother, is there anyone in the world who is stronger than my father?" "Oh, yes, my dear child," she answered. "God is." God is the strongest of all. Then his face became joyful and he asked, "And mother, where does he live?" "Far away," she answered, "deep in the heart of the forest where the wild animals live, there dwells the Lord." Dhruv said nothing. A voice seemed to be sounding in his heart. From far away it called, "Dhruv, come to me, come to me." Dhruv knew it was the voice of his heavenly Father in whom was all the strength. At midnight he rose up from his bed and, leaving his mother asleep to the care of the Lord, went out quietly. It was bright moonlit night, and trees cast long black shadows. He again heard the voice which called, "Come to me." Dhruv said, "I will give myself to you," and went into the forest. Dhruv was a child and knew nothing of the dangers of the forest. On he went without resting to seek his God. At last he reached the heart of the forest and waited. Then came a lion with fiery eyes and hot breath, swinging his tail. Dhruv asked, "Do you know where God is?" The lion slunk away. Next came the bear with heavy footsteps and dark fur. "Do you know where God is?" he asked, and the bear slunk away ashamed. Dhruv waited and waited. All the once out of the darkness there appeared before him a holy man. "Where can I find the Lord?" Dhruv asked. "Hail the Blessed One, hail the Lord of the world, and you shall surely find him." Dhruv did as he was told. Like a rock, he sat on the ground, moving not a muscle, and began to repeat the sacred words. Even when the white ants raised their anthills around him, he did not stir for deep in his own heart. Dhruv had found the Lord and had come to for rest forever. So the pole star was given to him as his home, and to this day it is called the Dhruv, the pole star. Such is the power of having faith in God. So in this session, we just read the chapter. In our next session, we will analyze the story. Thank you.